Hi, I'm Keeley, also known as Kelly.
And I'm Feely, also known as Alex,
Welcome to our corner of the Shire,
where we will show you how to bring Middle-earth
into your daily life to keep you
a happy hobbit.
Welcome to this episode of Happy Hobbit. Spring is here and we have days of warm sunshine and lots of flowers blooming and birds singing, and I felt like what better way to celebrate spring here in the Northern Hemisphere than by using some of those blossoms in a baked good. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make Dandelion buttercream frosting. This one's going to be a slight variation on a plain buttercream because instead of flavoring it with vanilla, I'm actually going to flavor it with cream cheese flavoring with the intention of using it on my famous carrot cake that I used in an Easter episode recently. If you want the recipe for that, just click on our videos and you'll be able to get that one. It was the 2020 Easter special. And that's what I am going to be doing. So and the cool thing about this frosting is you can make it ahead of time because a lot of time flowers are seasonal, and by the time you get enough that you need for a recipe, it's not always perfect timing for when you want to bake it. So I'm making this recipe up ahead of time, and you can either freeze it or put it in the refrigerator until you need it. So let's get baking, confectionering, frosting. For this frosting, it's very useful to have something to sift with because, as I've mentioned before, sifting is actually a really important part of baking because it helps break everything up. You'll also need powdered sugar or icing. I believe it's called icing sugar in other parts of the world. Medium-sized mixing bowl, a blender, and this is the surprise ingredient: dandelions. So this frosting recipe is actually really simple. It's based on butter. For once, I actually had forethought and I let the butter sit out to get room temperature rather than melting it in the microwave. So we're gonna take 1/3 of a cup of butter, which is almost a full stick. In fact, that's a lie. I usually modify this recipe and use a whole stick. So I'm not like trying to threaten you with this knife right now. But okay, so we'll use 1 whole stick of butter. And I apologize if the angle's a little odd. I'm doing this alone, so I don't have quite as many options as I usually have with my sisters helping me. So I'm gonna start by blending this stick. Oh, he's camera shy. I'm gonna blend this stick of butter. You can see it. There we go. So, as you can see, I just kind of mashed it up. And then to that, I'm going to start with 3 cups of powdered sugar. Let me try to adjust this. That's not that bad. You don't have to beat the bag, but just trying to get it away from the top so I can cut it without spilling powdered sugar. Take your scissors or your dragon claws. If you're a dragon, you can just slit it. But I actually don't think from our looking at our like data on YouTube, I actually don't think we have that many dragons who watch our show, unfortunately. I'd like to reach that demographic, but I'm not super tech savvy. I don't even know what best practices are on YouTube, so I kind of doubt I'm going to be able to reach that dragon demographic. But if you guys know any dragons who you think would like our show, please feel free to recommend us to them, because, you know, we're all about inclusion. Now, yeah, you can see it's sifting. So here's 1 cup being sifted in. And as you can see, it's coming out really light and fluffy. So there's 1 cup. And I'm gonna do 2 more. Ooh. And you don't have to be super exact with these measurements. It's just frosting. It's not something that's gonna be baked. What you're going for is flavor, texture, and consistency. So that can really have a lot of wiggle room, and it can be modified. It looks like a pinch of cocoa from when I was making chocolate cake for Cousin Gimli. But it can be modified to whatever your personal tastes are. I like a thicker frosting. So if that's the case, and you find your frosting's feeling a little too thin, then add more powdered sugar. And if you feel like it's too thick, you can try adding a teeny bit of milk. I'd only add like a teaspoon of milk at a time, just to be on the safe side, because the powdered sugar dissolves really quickly. So I kind of tap the sides to make sure it's all going into the center. You can see my little wheel thing here. And when I get impatient because the chunks are kind of big and it's not going as fast as I want, I just stick my clean hand in there and I scrape. I just press the powdered sugar against the bottom and it all goes through the sieve. So, more little bits of cocoa. Looks like it's snow. I'm gonna blend that now.
What you making me?
That's like weirdly dry. Huh. It'll probably pull together more once I add the flavoring. So, as I mentioned in that episode, on carrot cake, I don't use real cream cheese. You can, there's nothing wrong with it. But I use cream cheese flavoring. To me, it makes me feel less guilty when I eat it because I'm like, it doesn't have quite as many calories. So, I often just use the cap to measure. A little piece of paper in it. That's about a teaspoon, so... Ooh, it's thick. I'm gonna start with 3 and then taste it. Maybe I shouldn't have used the cap because now it's gonna be in the threads. Okay, now I have to rinse the cap off. Aside. Okay, let's see if it blends together better now that it has a little bit of liquid. And you could just add any flavoring you want, such as vanilla. Okay, that's insanely thick. Definitely gonna thin that out a little. I'm going to try using some half and half. You could use cream or you can use milk, but this is a little richer, so I'm going to try using this. And I will practice what I preach. Get my teaspoon measurer. Because see, I had that on the highest speed and it's all stuck to the beater. I'm just going to add 2 to begin with. Okay, that really helped, as you can see. I'm just taking a teeny bit with my pinky to do a taste test. It's too much. It's tangy, but it could use a little bit more. I'm gonna add a little bit more, and I'm actually gonna measure it this time. Whoa, okay, that was more than I expected. You couldn't see that, but it overflowed the measuring spoon. It's alright, a little more flavor, never hurt nobody. Washing my hands. Always wash your hands after you put them in your mouth. You don't want to contaminate the kitchen for other people. Blend that flavoring in. That's nice. Now for the hopefully fun part. I have my measuring cup, and I did say at the start of this to myself, I'm like, I'm not actually gonna measure how many petals I have, but I'm kind of curious. So you pull them off. And you want to try to just get the petals and not the green bit, but that's kind of hard to do. I'm learning. Plucking it. It's interesting, you can see the fuzzy tufts of like where it's getting, you know, how it disperses its seeds, how it becomes that little puff ball. Looks like a cotton ball that you make wishes on. I don't know, that one tasted good. So, you guys probably remember the dandelion cookies I made a long time ago, back in 2015 in New Zealand. I filmed an episode of Happy Hobbit in New Zealand, and so I kind of know what taste I'm dealing with here, and that's why I thought it might be good to put in a carrot cake. If you haven't seen that episode, look it up. And I'm thinking too, you could also use these as like a garnish for anything really. If you don't have enough that you think that you could put into like a frosting or make a simple syrup out of. You can also make dandelion wine if you have a bunch of them. If you have a bunch of dandelions, you're kind of lucky. That one like mushed apart. That's kind of gross. I'm not going to use that one. But you know, I'm just trying to pull them from the stem. It's not working out as flawlessly as I would hope, but what Unhappy Hobbit does. But you can use these as a garnish in a salad or on top of a cake. If you look at footage of the Shire and the Shire set in Mata Mata, you will see a lot of nasturtiums. And as many of you probably know, nasturtiums flowers are edible. And they taste a lot like kind of a peppery taste. My best friend growing up taught me that when she pointed at some and was like, watch this, and she just put it in her mouth. And I was like, wait, you can just do that? Because I got in trouble every time I put flowers in my mouth and leaves and plants in my mouth when I was a kid. Because I was just doing it to random things. Which is not usually ever recommended. You should know what it is you're putting in your mouth. But if you felt, if you just had a few, you could, yeah, pluck out the leaves and just use them as a garnish for, like sprinkles almost. So as you can see, I plucked, that's not all of them, there's a few more stems. I counted, it was about 30 flowers. It still wasn't, it was like half a cup worth of petals. So you really need a lot for most recipes. But I'm gonna do what I can with this. I'm gonna attempt to film and bake at the same time. Here we go. Oh, there's a bunch still stuck in there. I have to use my hand. Which is clean, you guys just saw me wash it, or heard me rather. So, I'm going to, okay, time to blend. It's very pretty. Look, it adds this yellow to it. Wow. That's beautiful. Looks like confetti cake. So check out how beautiful that is. It just adds such a cheerful spring-like touch. Come on, camera. You can do it. I actually kind of like it with some of the flecks of green in there looking dark. That's beautiful. Thank you, Rue. So like I said, I'm not gonna actually freeze this frosting because I plan on using it in just a few days. So what I'm actually gonna do is put it in an airtight container and store it in the refrigerator. And then when I'm ready to frost the cake, in fact, before I start baking the cake, I will probably set it out onto the counter to thaw. And hopefully by the time the cake's completely baked and cooled, it will be perfect timing to put the frosting on. But you can definitely make this ahead and stick it in your freezer. Another thing I forgot to mention was I soaked and rinsed these dandelions before I even thought about using them. And of course that's an important step because you want to get rid of any bugs or insects or dirt or anything like that before you actually go to use them. This mixture that I had them floating in is a quart of water with 3 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of vinegar, which apparently is beneficial to flowers. The sugar helps them stay alive, and the vinegar helps keep bacteria from growing. That doesn't mean that much because for this recipe, because I only had them in there for a few minutes, but they were already starting to close, a lot of them, even just in that amount of time. But that's a good tip to know for even just spring bouquets. Now I'm just going to scrape the frosting out of this bowl and into my bowl for the refrigerator. This bowl might be bigger than what I need, but I'd rather have extra space than have it be too small. I'm just scraping it off the sides, making sure I got it all. It's very nice and fluffy. And when I unthaw it, I will most likely scoop it back into this bowl and beat it again to make sure it gets aerated and fluffy once more. Because it's going to be pretty stiff even after it thaws. And there's quite a bit left on the beaters. So I'm going to use my clean fingers. Oh, how funny, there's like a chunk of it. It's like a clump of dandelions on the tip. I think it's worth getting yucky for a few minutes to get every little bit off the beaters, because it'd be even worse if you're frosting the cake and had a little bald spot and you're like, oh no, if only I'd gotten that last 2 tablespoons of frosting. Doesn't want to come off. It's very... A favorite in our house from the time we were kids was our mom would make us our birthday cake, which we couldn't have until nighttime, you know, when we did the party. But we could lick the beaters, the chocolate frosting on the beaters, and any frosting left in the bowl. So that was like always really exciting, and it was an opportunity, you know, there's 4 of us. It was an opportunity to show some magnanimity and be like, look, I shall take this beater, a sibling can have that one, and someone else can have, each person can have like a spoonful of the frosting from the bowl, and, you know, kind of curry favor that way, I suppose. I'm not going to attempt to mix this in while it's in there, but as you can see, my frosting and airtight lid. this on, seal it up, and put it in the fridge. So that's it from me for today, and I will see you next time when I frost the cake. And I'll show you the finished cake, of course. So here I am, again. So you can see it's nighttime. I'm in my fuzzy pajamas. Actually, I've got Winnie the Pooh pajamas underneath. And I just finished frosting the carrot cake for us to eat tonight. And I wanted to show you what it looks like. And here it is. Look how pretty. I love how the dandelions add this cheerful yellow. The one thing I have to say is you may want to add a little more butter when you make it, because I didn't think about the fact that having the little botanicals in there might make it more difficult to spread. So I definitely used every teeny little bit that I had. But so adding a little bit more butter might help it go a little bit further. But I'm very happy with it. I think it's gorgeous. I added a few more finishing touches to the cake using some pre-made sugar decorations I had on hand, and I think it looks even beautifuler now. Look how cheerful. It's just the embodiment of spring. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much for watching and for all of your support over the years. And if you're new, welcome. Please feel free to subscribe so that you know when we post updates and new videos and all that fun stuff. And until next time, I hope you are very happy hobbits. I added a few more finishing touches to the cake. Wait, I'm filming real quick. It's okay. Okay. It's okay.
Hello, darlings. Time for some dandelion leftovers. There you go. For girls.
I forgot to mention, yes, I do have a little bit of a bruise there. Don't worry, I've had an eye issue that is now being rectified. I had a very minor surgery done on this eyelid, and it left me with a shiner, but it's on its way out, and I'll be doing this one soon, so I might look bad for a while, but I wanted to let you know so you don't think Feely's gotten that bad. I know she can be pretty mean in our episodes, but she's never gotten that bad. Or has she? You're kind of unsure, huh? It's okay, Beep Peep. Where are you? There you are, Beep Peep. Okay, Beep Peep, it's just the kitty. I took you out to hang out with the kitty once, you silly Willy.
Yeah, it's a good thing to you, Delta.
Oh, Delta!
The chicken's afraid of you, buddy. Good kitty. Who's the good kitty? Who's the good kitty?
Rue doesn't trust him at all.
It's okay, Rue.
You guys are funny.